Do you remember being bored as a kid before TikTok and tablets? It was a lot more common, I dare say, but now kids and all of us have access to entertainment all the time. And our next guest says that is creating a mental health problem. Here to tell us more about it is Calissa NgoziIs, who's a mental health expert and child and youth care professor at Mohawk College. Quite the title, but I love it. Great to have you. You say kids, and I think all of us, are living in constant stimulation. So what does that look like?
You know, it's funny, because earlier you talked about in the 90s, you showed that segment. It is so true. When I grew up, when you grew up, we were able to be bored. We were able to go outside until the lights came off. But kids these days have so much overstimulation that they don't know what that means. So everything from background noise to YouTube videos to all the screens. The gaming industry is actually brilliant because now we've lost the art of pause, right? So they have created these games where these kids cannot get off of them. Mom, I just need 5 more minutes. I need 10 more minutes, but I need you now, right? And it starts to play with their psyche.
I think there's also the element of an overcorrection by parents who maybe are trying to make up for not being the center of their parents' universe as kids, that now they've put their kids right in the center of their universe. So we're constantly entertaining them, even if it's not with screens. We're coming up with games for them to do all the time and feeling like we're their biggest playmate. And that doesn't help either.
No, it doesn't. And actually, it's a disservice to our kids because we're, like you said, we're feeling guilty. You know, when we grow up, maybe our parents weren't as involved for whatever reason, work, all those things. So we're trying to correct that behavior because we thought, well, you know, I'm going to do better. We're always going to do better. But what's happening is that these kids are now not understanding that go read a book, go do something else. Mommy or daddy or whoever is taking care of me can't always be there to tell you what boredom is. And parents need to stop feeling guilty. It's not your job to always find something for these kids to do.
So how does all this impact our kids' mental health?
Well, we're seeing an increased levels of depression and anxiety, you know, loss of focus, emotional dysregulation. Now, these kids are also being easily triggered. So things that for you and me might be super small is blowing up to these massive arguments and tantrums because these kids don't know how to regulate because we're not giving them the tips, tricks, and tools as to how to go through it.
So where does boredom come into this? How does it become so important for this?
Well, I think first off, acknowledge the fact that boredom is okay. And maybe just give them a playlist of things that they can do. Why don't you go read a book? Why don't you play a game? Build Lego. You know, sometimes my kids are like, well, there's nothing to do. I'm just going to take a nap. Okay, cool. Take a nap if that's what you need to do. But we need to start instilling in these kids that there is not always going to be someone that's going to be there for you to help you along the way. And we want to make sure that we're raising kids that turn into adults that are not only productive, but adults that also understand what it means to just take a chill time and not always have to be overscheduled.
I love what you have here. That boredom builds problem-solving skills. I always say to my kids, boredom is the spark of creativity.
Yes.
The line they hate. They roll their eyes the second I say it, but it is so true.
Yes, and things like imagination, right? We've lost that art of, you know, whether it's an imaginary friend or, you know, if it's something that you're creating with your friends, with, you know, siblings if you have them. These are really important things that we need to bring back to our kids.
What happens if our kids don't experience boredom from time to time?
Then they're going to start to grow into adults that have issues when they're not overscheduled. There's going to be high tensions. They're going to panic whenever there's things that aren't going their way. It goes back to that emotional regulation piece of, I don't know how to deal with that because growing up, I wasn't taught that. So we have to be really careful because, like we know, mental health is continuing to be on the rise.
God, even something like sending the kids to the park without a device to track them or for them to call home.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's problem solving that comes into play there. Yeah. That if you don't know how to do that, how can you then move out for the first time? How can you go to school in a different city for the first time?
Yeah, well, it's that difference also of building resiliency, but life skills and social skills. And I'll give you a really quick example. I dropped off one of my kids at soccer last night, and the doors were locked, and he kind of just stood there. So I rolled down the window, and I said, there's a man there, knock on the window, and he'll open the door. So it's like we're losing that critical thinking piece because we're constantly on the go and movement. So, you know, we can help. We can help these kiddos, but it also takes 30 days to learn a new habit.
30 days to learn a new habit. So if you're listening to this and thinking, I'm anxious as a parent to give them time where they're not scheduled, or you're a kid listening thinking, what do I do? Yeah. How do you be bored for the first time? Where do you start?
Well, and stay with me here, we have to lead by example. So maybe we need to put our phones down as well. You know, our kiddos are also our biggest critics, and they'll call you out. Well, you're telling me I can't be on my screen or my tablet, but you're on your phone. You're scrolling on Facebook, on TikTok, on whatever it is. So you need to model by example and say, you know what, you're right, mommy's gonna put her phone down too. I'm not necessarily gonna hang out with you because you need that independence, okay, don't get it twisted. But let's all find something to do. Like mom's gonna go bake cookies, you know, you're gonna go draw, whatever it is. But you have to model by example. Also, screen-free time. Kiddos should not be on any tablet, screen, or system an hour before bedtime, right? So you need to start implementing that so that they understand. Go read a book, you know, go play with your brother, sister, whoever.
And like anything, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it.
Yes.
I love this. Calissa, great to have you on the show again.
Thanks for having me.